What's up, guys? It's Danny
and Charlotte
from the Lassercast, and we are doing something we haven't done in a long time.
Very long time.
That is a franchise review, ranking, and later in 2025, it's still weird to say that,
I know.
Final Destination Bloodlines is coming out, I believe in early May. So I decided to introduce Charlotte to the OG Final Destination. And since all of them are streaming on Max, we ended up binging through the series in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. We just watched, what did we watch? 3, 4, and 5 today?
Yeah.
We watched parts 3, parts 4, and part 5 over the last probably 6 to 7 hours, stopping to have pizza in the middle. And we're going to go through the franchise. We're going to talk about what we liked about each one. And then we're going to give you our rankings of the films in the franchise. And we're going to give you our rankings of the opening disasters from the franchise. So, obviously, we start 25 years ago with Flight 180. And that number, of course, comes up over and over again throughout this franchise. 180 becomes like one of the omens. Speaking of that, one thing that I do like about this franchise overall, one of my favorite horror movies that I've introduced to you is The Omen. And I think that this franchise does a really good job of kind of updating that trope of like seeing what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way that The Omen used the photographer's photographs. They kind of do that in part 3 a little bit. Yeah. Even though it's not as obvious.
Kind of have the guy from The Omen's haircut.
Yes. So, what was your initial response when we watched the original?
I mean, we're going in on a flight for spring break, so my first initial was, oh, I'm going to die this year.
I mean, to be fair, you do ride on the highway a lot
almost every
than you fly.
week. Like, true.
We cross bridges.
Yeah, what
often.
I realized is that I should really just be scared of everything.
You have been on a roller coaster.
There could be a nail on the floor that I step on. I've actually stepped on stuff on my floor.
Right before we started recording, we dropped a nasal spray on the floor, and Charlotte...
I was like, now it's going to leak, and now electricity's going to happen, and we're all going to explode.
Something, yes. The leaking nasal spray will cause some kind of Rube Goldbergian situation where, you know, I'll be smothered to death with a Nightmare on Elm Street shirt.
Spontaneously combusting.
I'll be spontaneously combustible. Jesus Christ. But so, yeah, I think, like, obviously, look, I don't know how up on current events you are, but, like, plane crashes have kind of been in the news.
Wow.
So, to rewatch the original movie and to watch that opening scene again, knowing that during our spring break we're flying down to Louisiana, is, you know, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Wish us luck, guys.
All right, so I guess this is a franchise that is obviously known more for its kills than for anything else. So, first movie, what was your favorite kill?
Oh, whoa, we didn't rehearse this.
No, it's spontaneously combustible.
Stop. I don't know. I think probably... What was his name? The guy who just got his head, like, chopped off, here.
Stifler.
Yeah.
Well, that's not his name, but that's his name in American
Hitchcock.
Pie. But yeah, Hitchcock. Yes. Billy Hitchcock?
Billy Hitchcock.
Yeah, he... And that's one of the things that we did talk about a little bit is this franchise has two kinds of kills. They have the, oh my God, get to the point kill,
like,
where, yeah, they tease you with the
now
endless
the
amounts
nasal
of
spray
tension.
is slowly dripping, and all of a sudden, explode.
Yeah.
And then they have the, oh my God, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Billy, and even more than Billy, the girl who steps in front of the bus.
Oh yeah, that was Regina George moment.
You can just drop dead. And I do love, and we did pick up on this watching it, how like when the plane explodes, they show her in the airport, and there's
a bus behind her.
So I do love that this franchise started with like all of its characters are named for horror movie directors, and they plant a lot of seeds, and it kind of makes the franchise more rewatchable because you start to pick up on things. I had not seen the original Final Destination for probably 25 years. I think I saw it in the movie theater. I probably worked there when it came out. And I didn't love it. And so I didn't really go back to rewatch it.
I think your theater didn't spontaneously go bust.
Really? I did. The two movies in this franchise that I watched the most were 2 and 3. I actually don't think I had ever watched The Final Destination.
No, yeah, he was like, okay, now we're gonna put on 4, and then right after that 5. And I was like, oh, cool. What is this one good? And he was like, I've really never seen the whole thing.
No, I think it was so like. We watched the James Janice kill counts on Dead Meat. And
I love you guys.
One of the things that I had said to her was I never saw 4 and 5 as movies because I didn't love the first one, and even though I did like 2 and 3 more than the first one, I wasn't a huge fan of them. So I didn't bother going to see parts 4 and 5 in the theater, and so I kind of watched like I guess early YouTube kill compilations, and then when Dead Meat did the kill counts, I had watched those, so I knew all the kills and I knew a lot of the plot points. But it was very interesting watching 4 and 5 today back to back, especially given that like one of them is god awful
and then one of them is great.
Yeah, really good. Final Destination 2 is the movie that really sticks with me. We also didn't mention Final Destination 1. Your favorite actor is in it. Devon Sawa, who Charlotte has loved ever since Chucky, the TV series.
You guys don't remember that long.
Yeah.
Series of movies and TV.
But he is, somebody who's been in this genre now for a very long time. He's actually in Hard Eyes, which is out in theaters as we speak.
Yes, I didn't know that. I also got spoiled for it.
He plays one of the cops in Hard Eyes, yes. And Hard Eyes is really fun, and you should go see it. Maybe with me, if you weren't such a pain in the ass. Also, of course, you have Ali Larter as Clear, who would come back in part 2. It was a little disappointing and a little jarring to not have Devon Sawa in part 2.
Or in, the rest.
Well, he does, spoiler alert, though, he does come back a little bit. There is another character, aside from Ali Larter and Clear, who comes back, and that is Tony Todd.
Oh.
I
was going to say Candyman.
Oh, wow. The late, great Tony Todd as William Bloodworth, the coroner. I'll never forget meeting him at one of my first horror conventions and just being in the room while he's talking and while his voice is so friggin' great that it just adds a level of gravitas to these movies.
Never got the chance.
It's literally, spoiler alert for our rankings a little bit later, but you could really tell the quality of the Final Destination movie by is Tony Todd in it?
Yeah.
Versus
if Tony Todd's not,
he doesn't show up on screen. And both of our lists kind of reflect that.
Let's get to the rankings then.
Well, let's just quickly. Final Destination 2, what drew me to this movie, I think what draws everybody to this movie is the opening highway. The log falls off.
Yeah.
This movie has become, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, I think people who have never even seen Final Destination 2, not even horror fans, I think that there is a genuine fear that people have when they see a truck with fucking logs on it.
I hate trucks. It doesn't matter the truck. I hate trucks.
If you're driving on the highway and you see any type of like truck in front of you that has logs or things that could fall off.
Sorry, for me, it's anything that isn't a car. If it's a if it's a minivan, a van, a truck, a cement truck, a tow truck. It doesn't matter the truck, or it just needs to be a car.
A truck full of tows? Oh.
Cars on the highway. No trucks or buses.
Yeah.
No. Stop.
Final Destination 3 starts with another crazy event.
I already have a fear of roller coasters. Now I'm never going on a roller coaster.
So I've been on some of the biggest roller coasters. I've been on Nitro at Six Flags, which had, I don't know if it still is, but at the time I went on it, probably 15 years ago now.
I've been on the Harley Quinn. I hate roller coasters.
It had one
so
of the
bad.
biggest drops.
I really do hate that.
Real fast, Final Destination 2, favorite kill?
I don't know. Oh,
Is it Rory?
who's Rory?
3 pieces.
Oh yeah, the guy who just gets the fence in him. Yeah,
I love that whole sequence where they're trying to get the girl out of the car,
and then all of a sudden,
the airbag pushes her head back.
That was their fault.
Into the
that wasn't even death.
The pole that comes to her head. Then she drops the cigarette.
I mean, just imagine death was like, oh.
There's always a death. See, and I think this is my problem with these movies, and we even made a joke laying in bed about how, like, why doesn't death just be like, oh, you got away from me, stop your heart, boom.
Like, it doesn't even matter if you, I told him literally that it doesn't matter if you want to die or if you're okay with dying, but it's just like, the way you die was like so icky and painful that like, I wouldn't want to do that.
Oh yeah. I love the concept of the Final Destination films.
Like,
I really
can I do spoilers?
Of course.
Like, in, what was it, part 3?
We're spoiling movies where the last one that we're talking about came out in 2011. You were 1.
Okay, shush. In part 4, the only good character is, like, trying to kill himself. He's like, I've tried everything, nothing's working. And I'm like, yeah, I would try that and it wouldn't work. Because I wouldn't want to die by a truck or an escalator.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do love the whole idea behind the franchise of like you disrupt death's plan through some type of like omen style premonition and death comes for you. It's an awesome idea for a series of horror movies. Where I struggle with this franchise, and this is not anything new, this is exactly how I felt back in 2000 watching the original in the movie theater. When death has to like play the game Mousetrap, which I don't even know if you know what that is.
I don't.
And you know, do the Rube Goldbergian device to kill you. And I'm thinking of like the first kid, Todd, where it's like water had to leak from the toilet.
No.
He had to, yeah.
And it was such a long. He was just
had to fall into a clothesline. There had to be soap in the bathtub, and then the teacher, and then it's like after you get these like ridiculous, prolonged Rube Goldbergian kills, then you get like the great ones, like the bus.
Like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, Final Destination 2, I do love because I think that the kills that you do get are so much better than the ones in the first movie, but then you also get like the suddenness of the airbag pushing the girl through the pole. She drops the match.
I miss Eugene.
Eugene
was my favorite character. And George was my favorite character. And what was it? Nathan was my favorite character. And they all died.
Well, yeah. I think the only two people who survive at the end of a movie and end up living are the two characters in part 2.
Yeah. No, they technically die in part 3 because they're like announced dead. But I mean,
are they?
In the newspaper, kind of like how Devin Sawa was in part 2.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, all right. Well, Final Destination 3, Charlotte said it starts with the what do you call it? The roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think parts 3 and 4 fail for me the most because they have such unlikable characters. I will say Mary Elizabeth Winstead, like making her like horror debut, and she would go on to be not only a great actress but a great horror movie actress. It's fun to see her in part 3.
Wow.
Part 4 is just an absolute shit show.
I hate.
It looks genuinely terrible. Like, somehow the CG between 2000 and 2009 looks so much worse. Also, I did think it was funny that the same exact year that the Fast and the Furious franchise decided to name their 4th movie Fast and Furious and not Fast and the Furious 4, is the same year that Final Destination, instead of calling it Final Destination 4, went with The Final Destination.
It's always the part 4s. Part 4, the final chapter, like, final chapter, my booty.
Jaws the Revenge. Oh. Yeah, but everything about this movie, from the way it looks, the CGI, the characters, even I thought the deaths in part 4.
And then I just don't like part 4.
Yeah, like...
Part 4, ugh.
Like, I thought that, like, the death under the water while...
That was so stupid. How does his butt have that much suction?
Wait. Oh, boy.
No. The thing.
Pause, start over. No. Final Destination 5 is a welcome change of pace for a lot of reasons. I think they basically decided we're going to go back to the model of the first movie. They have an amazing...
Let's literally go back to the first movie.
They have an amazing opening. The bridge collapse is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
The characters, with the exception of one guy who's a fucking asshole who we both wanted to die.
Even during the kill count, I was like, Dad, you could just, like, skip this part.
Yeah,
We don't want to know him.
But aside from that one character, the characters are really good. I like that they finally, after 5 movies, or after 4 movies, they came up with the idea that if you're next on death's list, you can kill somebody and you take their place.
I feel like that was very good.
That made the ending really exciting. And then, of course, again, spoilers for a 2011 movie, but it's... Oh, I thought you were going to tell them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm dying. You tell them.
Oh, apparently death has come for you.
I'm dying right now.
It turns out that part 5 is actually a prequel to the original, and the survivors get onto the original Flight 180, and as they're about to sit down, Devin Sawa and Kerr Smith are there. They're getting into their fight. They're being escorted off the plane.
James and Janice was talking. I was like, how were they doing that?
Yeah, there has to be footage from the original.
Yeah, and then I guess for the shot where they were in front of them in that weird, like, blurry shot, it had to be actors, different actors.
Yeah. So...
I was like, Devin Sawa ain't coming back for that movie.
If you've not seen these movies, they're all streaming on Max. They go from, I would say, even the worst one, which we're going to do our rankings.
Oh,
yeah, we haven't hid the fact that we both hated 4. But
what do you mean? I love 4.
Even the worst movie in the franchise is 80 minutes long, and it's got a few good kills. It makes it worth watching if you're binging the franchise. There is a next movie coming out, Final Destination Bloodlines. So if you want to see, if you want to do a franchise rewatch, or if you have never seen them and you want to watch through them, am I going to recommend watching part 4 on its own? No. Am I going to say you might as well? It's 80 minutes.
Why not? I mean, it's part of the franchise.
Yeah, it's a big why not. Basically.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna skip like part 9 of the Friday series, but that's a skip.
Oh, not for me. I'll skip Jason Takes Manhattan. But anyway, so, all right. Franchise rankings.
Yes, I'll go first.
Okay.
We're doing movie or opening?
Movie.
Okay.
The movies in the franchise.
So, unfortunately, actually, I'm not going to say this right now. So mine least favorite is 4, if you couldn't tell. I I just hate the movie. I don't really have anything to say except everybody sucked and everything sucked. Part 3 is my next one. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. The deaths were okay, and I did like the opening. It was okay.
Okay.
The opening was fine. Next is 1. I had to make this really hard decision because I really do love Devon Sawa, but I just don't think part 1 was the best. I think he was the only good part of the movie. And then again, he wasn't really the best part of it. But yeah, the deaths were cool. And for the first time, it's a very cool movie. Then part 5. For the first, half of the movie, I really didn't like it. And then, once, it got to... I'm sorry, I'm so slow. Once, the guy started going psychotic, I think that Peter started going psychotic, I think, or, around then, the characters just started getting really, much better, and then the ending was just perfect.
Yeah, I thought I think it's a weird movie in the sense that it is, well, you finish, well, you only have one movie left.
The only thing I didn't like about 5 was the weird guy at the near the beginning, and I think that's why I, went towards Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
That I went towards, the hatred part of it, but I really didn't dislike it. And then my favorite is 2. The opening wasn't, it's on my favorite as, my number 1 for the opening, but, it, in my opinion, the only good part of it was the guy getting hit. But I think just the whole movie has, I like the characters. I know everybody's oh, they're douchebags, they're weird. I like the characters. I like that weird douchebag with the fence.
Yeah,
I thought he was kind when Eugene was he was whoa. I liked part 2. So yeah, that's my favorite. You can go now.
Well,
what do you have to say?
My ranking is exactly the same. For slightly different reasons. 4 is my least favorite, so it's at the bottom. Then I have 3. I like 3, but I think it suffers. I don't think the roller coaster opening is as good as the next 3 openings on the list. I think that the kills are mostly good. I think it goes on a little too long, where they basically add the whole train part at the end, which is fine. Part 1, again, not a movie that I loved the first time I saw it. I did gain a lot more appreciation for it the first time. But I think they were kind of toying with the formula a little bit. I think that there's parts of the movie that drag a little bit.
But they did something different. That's what you're talking about part 5, right?
No, I'm talking about part 1.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. Part 5... I absolutely love the opening probably 20 minutes, and I absolutely love the last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
the middle is kind of up in the air. There's a character named Isaac who is probably one of my least favorite parts of the whole franchise, which weighs it down a little bit. But I also really like the way they add the whole thing about, killing somebody to take your spot.
That's what I like. I was just saying, they did something different, and it worked.
I like that they brought Courtney B. Vance in to be, a federal agent who's following them.
Oh, yes.
That also was reminiscent of the first movie. They brought back Tony Todd, which they hadn't done in the flesh. He has a voice cameo in part 3, but he's not seen on screen. And he's
literally not in anything in part 4.
No, nothing in part 4.
No wonder it's such a bad movie.
And then part 2. I think part 2 is when you picture a Final Destination movie in your head. You picture a premonition opening with some crazy explosions and epic kills. You picture gory practical effects mixed with some CG, and I think no movie in the franchise does it collectively better than part 2 does. The opening highway crash scene is my favorite. It's got some of my favorite overall kills in the franchise.
I also just love the ending where they're all like, isn't this so happy? Wait a minute. That random kid next to the barbecue is next? And then in the background. That kid was funny.
I'll start for my ranking of the opening disasters. It's a similar list, but it's a little bit different. Actually, no, my list is exactly the same. It's 4, 3, 1, 5, 2. It's the race car track with the awful CGI from The Final Destination. Then it's the roller coaster opening from part 3. I really like the plane crash, Flight 180's explosion in part 1, but we've seen plane crashes in other movies, action movies, adventure movies.
Real life.
We've seen plane crashes happen on screen, so I don't think it did anything super original in the plane crash element of it. Part 5, the opening bridge sequence is amazing. I love how many layers it takes. How many different ways on the bridge it kills people.
How many ways can you die?
Yeah, and then for me, it's part 2's opening highway chase. So what about you?
So yeah, mine's very similar, but I just have a slight change. Obviously, part 4, I hated that scene. I don't like race cars, so I'm just gonna put that out there.
Can I just add one more thing about part 4?
Yeah.
Part 4 is so bad that there are characters on IMDb and in the credits of the movie, there are characters who are credited by the names. Are you ready? Racist.
Cowboy.
Mechanic. MILF. That's it.
That's really?
Yes. That's how the characters are credited.
Oh my God.
They don't even get screen names.
No.
They are their names in the credits is the adjective that describes them. And it's freaking insane.
Well, cowboy's not really an adjective. Okay, anyway. I just didn't like the deaths. Everything looked way too CGI. And if you're going to do CGI, make it look good CGI.
Yeah.
Sorry. Part 3, again, I don't like roller coasters. I also think the CGI didn't really look that good. I mean, it wasn't all CGI.
Ooh, mention the pothole we found in part 3.
There was a pothole! So, okay.
Not a pothole. That would actually kill people.
Oh, yes. Okay, so basically, in the premonition, the two people, like one guy that starts it gets his, like, overhead seatbelt thing pushed down really hard, which I understand. I hate those things. And which causes a leak. And then another guy, during the loop, drops his camera, which causes the thing to shake and bump into each other. So, after she's like, it's all gonna crash, somebody help me, get me off this ride, blah, blah, blah. She gets off, and then the guy gets off, and then they all start fighting like every other Final Destination except her wife. And then, both of the people who would have caused the two, like, things that will cause the crash got off. So technically, if they stayed on, the crash would have still happened. But because they got off, what caused the crash? Just a random leak? Like, I mean, it's possible that another person could have gotten pushed down really hard, but like...
But they, in part 1, they make it very clear that Flight 180 was going to explode.
Yeah.
And nothing that, like, Devon Sawa's character or Ali Larter's character does on the flight is what causes the explosion. It's just going to explode.
Yeah.
In part 2, the log is going to fall off of that truck.
Yeah,
now, that the cop is the first one to die in the premonition, but the logs are still going to be out on the highway causing the crash that kills many, many people. In part 3, there are two specific characters whose actions cause the roller coaster to crash. Those two characters leave. So what causes
the crash?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility that something else could have caused it, but in the premonition, those people caused it. So
yeah, the racetrack and the what's the last
bridge?
The bridge. They also just have, those accidents were not like precipitated by the main characters who show up. They were just going to happen anyway.
It was going to happen anyway.
So yeah, part 3, I could see where part 3, when I noticed that, I was like, wait, that actually doesn't make sense. But all right.
Next is part 5. I really did like the bridge scene. But I just like the plane a little more. I'm gonna spoil. My next one is number 1, movie 1. The plane. I just like the plane a little more because I like how everything is so suspenseful and how there's like a poor baby on the plane. Like we didn't realize that in the end of 5, how there's literally still a baby on the plane. I like the scene.
He had it coming.
He's a baby. Where okay, in part 5, I do like the deaths. I think the deaths look really cool. Even in the 3D effect, it kind of looks kind of cool, but I don't like 3D stuff.
And then your last one is...
And I didn't finish 1. I did like in 1 how the plane, how Devon Sawa was just sitting there like, as he's burning alive.
Yes.
And then part 2. I mean, mainly I just like part 2 because of the officer's head getting smashed through the window, and then what everything leads up after that. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it builds and it builds and it builds and it never lets up, and it's so good.
Can I just say something about a flaw in 2?
Yes.
In my opinion, I just didn't love the fact that they completely like went away in every other movie after 2 of the like new life thing, where like if you bring life into
How
and, like,
the main character technically dies, she drowns, and she needed, her heart stops and she needs to be resuscitated with...
Yeah, no, I was talking about the baby.
Oh, but
That
the baby ended up having...
No, I know, but
Yeah.
like still, like they never brought back the thing of new life. And
That's a good point.
I also just hated the fact that like, wait, the baby wasn't actually supposed to die?
So that is one thing about this franchise that is weird, is that there's, with the exception of Clear coming back from part 1 to part 2, none of the characters carry over from movie to movie.
Yeah.
So you always, which I will say kind of drags the franchise down overall for me, in the sense that it forces every movie in the franchise to do the exact same scene
and
with
new stuff.
Yes,
Sorry.
the exact same scene, which is, oh, wait a minute. In my premonition, they died in this order, which means this person died, which means now this person, now this. And they always have to put that together. And it's better in parts 1, 2, and 5 when you have Tony Todd there to help kind of push that along.
Yeah.
But in parts 3 and 4, they don't have him there, and so it kind of just drags it along. Like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, even if they're the only character, most of the time the people in the next movie know who Jason is. They know who Michael Myers is. They know, in every Haddonfield Halloween movie, they know who Michael Myers is. In Springwood, they know who Freddy is.
Okay, you just said this.
Yeah, so it's a little
on Elm Street
more annoying in this franchise when you have to continually have the characters come to the same realization that the last movie's set of characters.
That's what I kind of liked about part 5, is that yes, they did the exact same thing, but then they introduced the thing of like, oh, like if you just kill somebody, like if I was next, oh no, this thing is coming at me, and then I'm just like, oh, hey, and then boom, die, I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I think that...
Unless you were already on death's list.
Yeah, anything that adds like a tiny bit of intrigue into a franchise that's going on. That's why, like, I like some of the later Saw movies even. Like, they add a little bit of intrigue. Like, part 6, for instance.
Part 6 was pretty good.
Yeah, whereas, like, I felt, part 7 just does the same thing over and over again.
Oh, Saw 3D.
All right.
Saw 3D was the exact same thing as part 4. And
so,
that's why I hate it.
Yes. So that's our deep dive into the Final Destination franchise. We gave you our rankings. We gave you our rankings of the opening disasters.
We gave you our favorite kills.
We probably went on for 10 minutes too long. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. But Final Destination Bloodlines comes out in May. Charlotte and I are going to go see that when it comes out. We will do a review of that movie. for you guys. You can watch all of these movies over on Max right now, and stay tuned to the Lassercast. Pete and I are covering Yellow Jackets Season 3. We record every Saturday morning live our reviews of the episodes that go up on Paramount Plus on Friday. I have reviews up on the channel right now for horror movies that are in theaters. Companion, The Monkey, Hard Eyes. All three are currently out in theaters. And
We're going to Monster Mania.
oh, yes. Charlotte and I are going to go to Monster Mania in March. We will do videos from there. We will hopefully meet some cool people. And that's about it.
Yep.
All right. Have a final destination. I don't know what day of the week it is.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday? Have a great time. And we'll see you next time on the Lassercast.